Hello, Year One. Mrs. Savage here. Today for our topic, we are going to look at what Isambard Kingdom Brunel's life was like when he was a child. So if you remember, he was born in the Victorian times. So we're going to have a look at what the Victorian times were like. So, um, so the Victorian times. So our objective is, can I compare life now to the life of a child in the Victorian times? So these are the times that Isambard Kingdom Brunel grew up. So what clues are there that Isambard Brunel lived in the past? Can you see in this picture? Maybe some of you said it's black and white. And if you remember that we talked about his top hat last week and how many men don't wear top hats nowadays, and his clothing. For someone who, say, worked in an office, they still nowadays would wear suits and ties, but they wouldn't be wearing sort of this elaborate suit that Isambard has in this photo. So Isambard Brunel was a Victorian. So the Victorian era is named after Queen Victoria. She became queen at age 18 in 1837 until she died in 1901. Now, do you know what year we are in now? We are in the year 2020 or 2020. Everyone who lived when Queen Victoria was queen is called a Victorian. And you can even see from what Queen Victoria is wearing in this picture that it's very different to what Queen Elizabeth would wear nowadays. So in the Victorian times, people used horse and cart to get around. So you can see from the top picture, there would be horses that would be pulling a cart with two massive wheels, and there could be a driver at the back. The first motor car was invented towards the end of the Victorian era in 1885, and only very rich people could afford them. And if you look at this picture of this car, you can tell that it's very different than what your car might look today. First of all, it only has one bench seat. There's no roof, there's no doors, and there's no back to it. People rode around on things called penny farthings. Bikes hadn't even been invented yet. So you can see if you have a bike like the one at the bottom, they didn't have those when Isambard was a child. So an adult rode around on these types of bikes called penny farthings. They look very different to ours, don't they? Now, the Victorians invented a lot of things, and we still use a lot of them today. Here are some pictures of some inventions from the Victorian times. Do you know what any of these are? If you'd like, you can pause the video now to have a guess, or I'm going to tell you the answers in a minute. So let's see. Do you recognize some of these objects? Well, the first one might be a bit obvious, but yeah, this is a telephone. And it would be a landline telephone. And I'm sure if you have a landline that your telephone nowadays does not look like this. Now you all should recognize this. Yes, it is a post box, but post boxes were invented in the Victorian times. Now, what do you think this picture is? It's a camera. Now, does that look like a camera that you would use now? Nowadays, many people just use the cameras on their mobiles or on their phones. They don't carry around actual cameras. This is what the first camera looked like. And what about this machine? This is a typewriter. And the last one, yeah, you were right, the light bulb. So the light bulb was also invented. Now, when Isambard Kingdom Brunel went to school, things were very different. Children learned in very big classes. So if you think we have 30 children in our class, they would have double that amount. And if you can see from these photos that the children, they used slate boards or chalkboards instead of paper. And we use whiteboards and pens, but they didn't have those in the Victorian times. And also, the teacher would just do a lot of talking, and the children would have to write down everything that they had said. Now, those lessons don't sound very exciting, and I'm sure it was very difficult for a lot of the children to learn those ways. Now, unfortunately, in the Victorian times, a lot of children had to work. Now you think, work? children don't work nowadays, do they? But you were only lucky if you went to school. Lots of children had to work. And the jobs children did were not very nice, and they were often dangerous. So if we look at these two pictures, the top one, this young boy, he is a chimney sweeper. And because he is so small, he's able to climb up the chimney, clean it out with the brush, and get down. And you can see from his face that he's very dirty. Now, these jobs were very dangerous. He could have fallen, hurt himself, and it wasn't nice because then he'd be covered in soot from the ash from the fire. The next picture is of some children on a machine. And because children were small and they were light, they were able to work on these big machines and they didn't damage it as much as an adult would do. So unfortunately, children had to work and their jobs weren't very safe and they weren't very happy. Also, some children worked for rich people as servants, and they had to keep their house clean and do all the washing. And again, it wasn't a very nice job for a child. Now, this is where you might enjoy learning about the Victorian times. So, TVs, iPads, phones, fidget spinners, computers, scooters, none of these were even invented in the Victorian times. So if you look at the pictures, these are some of the toys that rich Victorian children got to play with. So you might be looking thinking, oh, these don't look like the toys I have. But here we have a dollhouse, which some of you might have. But this is a very elaborate dollhouse with lots of little pieces to move around the furniture. A spinning top, a toy train, building blocks, which a lot of us actually still play with. These ones have the alphabet. A rocking horse, a jack-in-the-box, and then toy soldiers. Whereas nowadays, lots of you will have different types of figurines that you play with, maybe superheroes or dolls. These are what the rich children got to play with. And unfortunately, there were also a lot of poor children, and they couldn't afford to go and buy all these types of toys and games. So they had to make their own games or make some of their own toys or invent some of their own games, which actually we do as well at school. So we play hopscotch, we jump around, do games. We've been out with hula hoops, rolling down the playground, and you all know how fun that is. But they also made peg dolls. So instead of having a toy or a figurine, they made them themselves. They take these wooden pegs, wrap them up with material, tie them together, maybe paint them or put felt tips on them, and those would be their toys. We've also got this game, wooden game, which was a cup with a ball on the end with a string, and they'd have to flip up the cup and try and get the ball into it. So you can tell there's a massive difference between the games that the Victorian children got to play with and the games that you have. So I've got a couple things I'd like you to do this week. First of all, I want you to think of all of your favorite games that you like to play. Are they puzzles, board games, card games, games on the computer, maybe outside games? And I want to see how many different games you can play this week. Maybe with members of your family, your brother, your sister, or if it's a game that you can play on your own. And if you're able to, try and take a picture of you playing this game and you can put it up on tapestry. So these are your tasks for this week for topic. So first, draw a picture of your favorite game. So it could be the cover of the box that it came in, or it could be if it's a game that you play with cards. It could be anything that you liked game. Draw a simple picture of it. And then what I would like you to do is to write some sentences explaining how you play your game or why you enjoy playing your game. Let's look at a few examples. I've got a picture here of the card game Go Fish, and I have written, starting with a capital letter, I like to play the game Go Fish with my mom and dad. It is a card game. We each get 5 cards and try to get a match. So that could be one example. Let's look at another one. Now, snakes and ladders. I quite enjoy the game Snakes and Ladders. So if I was to write some sentences about snakes and ladders, I would say, I like to play the game, and capital letter, because it's the name of a game. So I like to play the game Snakes and Ladders with now I'm going to put with my sons because I have 2 sons and I enjoy playing with them. We, let's see, race up the board to try to get to the top. Oh, but watch out for a snake, or you will have to, just make my box a bit bigger. You have to go back to a different space. I'll move that up for you. So that could be me explaining my game of snakes and ladders. Space. Or you could write just who you enjoy playing it with and why you enjoy playing the game. So if we review, we are going to first draw a picture of your favorite game and then just write some sentences explaining your game, why you like to play it, maybe who you play it with, and then put it on tapestry. And I can't wait to see all the different games that you play with. So let me get back to, if I can here. Whoa. There we go. So Mrs. Savage has disappeared. Oh, there you go. So sorry, I hope you have a good week and I hope you really enjoy playing some games. And I want you to think about, when you play your games, how Isambard Kingdom Brunel was played very different games to us, and maybe how he might enjoy playing your game. Okay, bye.